on classroom management preparedness. We chose this area to research as we are all interested in teachers' preparedness in classroom management.
This presentation is Assessment 3 of the Unit Action Research in Teaching. Team members are Elise, Julie, Bethany, Caitlin, and Megan.
Classroom management is an aspect of teaching which all teachers are responsible for. There are various approaches to classroom management, and it is key to recognise that there is no one answer, but there is always an opportunity to explore and investigate strategies.
Some of the strategies for classroom management can surround aspects such as time, instruction, layout, policies and procedures, materials, climate, and behaviour.
As a group, we were interested in exploring the preparedness of teachers in the area of classroom management. Through our literature reviews, some of the key findings surrounding classroom management were: there is a demand for quality induction and orientation for beginning teachers, particularly in terms of collaboration, personal confidence, classroom and behaviour management, resources, and the expectations within the teaching profession. There is a clear deficiency in pre-service teacher preparedness for classroom management based on a lack of content within university courses and a lack of content towards specific cognitive and behavioural disorders.
Teachers who established clear expectations without being harsh or punitive reflected stronger student-teacher relationships, as high expectations were paired with respect and trust, enabling students to develop self-efficacy and classroom comfort. Providing support to new teachers can lead up to significant success in their teaching. Mentoring new teachers can help them with school routine familiarization, time management, building relationships, building confidence in themselves, improving instructional practices, and increased classroom management. Although it's a requirement for pre-service teachers to complete an inclusive studies class, they may not necessarily feel confident in teaching students with disabilities. The UDL framework can support teachers with differentiating their teaching so that all students can access the information.
Once the topics were decided, we jumped into the types of meaningful data collection methods which matched our areas of interest. We chose surveys, interviews, and content analysis.
This survey has enabled us to see the difference between the preparedness of pre-service versus in-service teachers surrounding the UDL framework. It asked teachers to rate their preparedness in the different subtopics of the framework. This varies from 1 being very unconfident to 5 being very confident. There was 5 pre-service and 5 in-service teachers that completed this survey.
In conducting this survey, we were able to investigate pre-service teachers' perception of their preparation and level of self-efficacy in regards to classroom management. It enabled pre-service teachers to reflect upon their studies, placements, and specific understanding of management of mental health disorders and conditions to reveal their level of preparation, rating this on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree.
So once we enter the profession as early career teachers on a full-time basis, we also gain the countless roles and responsibilities which teachers perform daily, which usually involves numerous aspects of classroom management. Part of this entrance into teaching also includes professional development and support. Content analysis, which is similar to artifact analysis, was the method chosen for investigating the types of early career teacher support. This qualitative approach has allowed us to filter through the support provided and offered in secondary schools, seeing what it involves, how it's conducted, and the duration of such support and resources. The actual content analysis involves gathering resources and then tabulating the recurring themes to determine how the support is delivered to early career teachers. It is also important to note that the themes that were less frequent were still included, as they reinforced and highlighted the support that was consistent across schools. The content analysis was performed on documentation, primarily orientation itineraries, presentations, and digital resources.
Interviews are a common qualitative practice taken in research methods. Interviews enable participants to share their personal experiences and opinions on the research topics. In the process of interview, the body language and spoken words of the interviewee is the focus. From interviews, collected data can be detailed and specific. In our research, interviews are conducted as semi-structured interviews to let participants feel more comfortable, and depending on the participants' answers, questions can be flexible and target the focus of the research topics. Notes were collected and themes were generated to expose common themes throughout the interviews. Due to asking for specific strategies and examples, some full quotes were taken throughout the process. In our research, the interviews range from pre-service teachers and first-year in-service teachers in the Western Sydney area.
Next, we will discuss what we have found from our data.
From the UDL Framework survey, I found that pre-service teachers were 6% very confident, 10.7% not confident, 22% unsure, 38.7% confident, and 22.7% very confident. And in-service teachers were 0% very unconfident, 0.67% not confident, 6% unsure, 18.7% confident, and 74.7% very unconfident. It's evident from this data that in-service teachers are generally more confident in the subsections of the UDL framework, even though they may not have been taught the framework specifically.
Through the investigation of pre-service teacher preparedness for classroom management, we were able to see the causation for feelings of underpreparedness. 50% of pre-service teachers surveyed feel that they are not strongly equipped for classroom management within their tertiary studies, with 75% of participants strongly agreeing that greater focus needs to be given to classroom management skills and strategies within their tertiary education course. From this data, particular deficiencies were perceived. Participants noted that specific approaches and strategies to support classroom management is a knowledge area that is underdeveloped, along with a significant lack of information on the classroom management of particular mental and behavioural disorders such as ADHD or ODD. This data implicates that pre-service teachers entering the workforce do not feel strongly equipped to effectively and holistically manage the classroom. This needs to be addressed through targeted supports and strategies for particular behaviours, and professional learning once in the workforce may be necessary to support and improve these knowledge deficits.
After performing the content analysis, there were several overarching themes that were present across the documentation provided by the schools. In terms of overall support, each school provided a whole day orientation to beginning teachers, which included an introduction to the school policies and procedures, as well as brief presentations on classroom and behaviour management strategies commonly utilised in the school. Following this initial support, fortnightly 50-minute professional learning meetings were scheduled with presentations addressing areas of concern and development for the given school context. A key theme that was referred to in a large majority of the documents was the AITSL teaching standards, particularly standards 4 and 6. Throughout our studies as pre-service teachers, the reference to the AITSL teaching standards has increased over time. Seeing this already consistent theme in our current studies transferred into the profession provides a familiar baseline for the support to be built off. There were also mentionings of collaborative discussions with teacher mentors and beginning teachers in the documents. However, the contents of such meetings were not disclosed by the schools due to privacy concerns. The findings from the content analysis reflected that the support currently offered in Western Sydney secondary schools is structured in its scheduling and formalities, although it actually may lack the quality and depth which is requested by teachers in relation to the implementation and effectiveness of classroom management strategies. Such thoughts are discussed next with the findings from interviews with in-service and pre-service teachers in regards to classroom management strategies.
After conducting the interviews and collecting the common themes, the thematic presentations that were most prominent were positive attitudes, differentiation, engagement, value, and care. Overall, positive attitudes were a prominent theme among all interviewees as a collective focus, i.e., positive attitudes from the teacher and students towards learning among school culture. All interviewees highlighted that positive attitudes were the main factor in developing positive student-teacher relationships, and that when attitudes were positive, behavioural management became easier. Differentiation was another thematic presentation as interviewees discussed when student-teacher relationships were positive and held a strong focus in the classroom, teachers knew their students better. Therefore, differentiation for specific needs was better facilitated. leading to fewer behavioural issues in the classroom. The engagement was a key discussion point among the interviewees, as the lack of engagement leads to more behavioural concerns. The interviewees reflected that when the students were more engaged in their learning, this created grounds to foster student-teacher relationships further. And lastly, value and care were a prominent theme, as teachers felt when you have a student who feels cared about and valued, they showed better behaviour.
The interview questions also asked for specific strategies used, and these were some of the collected results.
Bringing this all together and looking at the findings from each stream of research, there are a few common themes that arose, with the most popular being a demand for targeted support in classroom management strategies and how such strategies translate to the context of a classroom. The current discourses that are inhibiting teacher preparedness from classroom management, and in turn their own self-efficacy as teachers, seemingly stem from a lack of information being presented to pre-service teachers while undertaking their studies. To rectify this and increase the perceived feeling of preparation for educators, it is clear that targeted supports need to come from a variety of areas to truly see increase in these deficits. This includes engaging early career teachers with strong mentorship from more experienced peers, ensuring that strategies like universal design for learning are well understood by both pre- and in-service teachers, and establishing positive and constructive classroom environments to support student-teacher relations, engagement, and differentiation. Moving forward, we can look at these findings and how they will affect teacher perspectives of classroom management preparedness in the setting of Western Sydney schools.
Combining these findings from our action research projects and the themes from our literature reviews, it became obvious to us that there were two main topic areas which were commonly referred to: classroom management support and classroom management strategies. In terms of support, educators were often referring to resources and information provided to them, typically in formal professional learning formats. Collegial support, which is usually presented in an informal, collaborative discussion format, was another form of support available to teachers. When looking into classroom management strategies, it was found through the literature reviews and reinforced in the interviews that educators often employ positive behaviour reinforcement approaches, whereby preferred behaviours and attitudes presented by students are actively recognised and vocalised by teachers in the classroom. In the interviews, teachers also discussed that building meaningful relationships with students, where care and respect is valued by both, as another commonly used strategy. It is interesting to note that such approaches to classroom management and engagement were a focus in document samples throughout the content analysis. We recommend that future research is focused on looking into the types of support that in-service teachers are seeking, observing how classroom management strategies are implemented in the classroom context, gathering data on the opinions and experiences of in-service teachers in relation to classroom management, and providing quality learning opportunities for pre-service teachers to engage with these strategies. Following these recommendations, we have outlined the next steps for an action research project to follow. Considering those recommendations, our future plans are focused on developing an action research plan based on investigating the classroom management strategies implemented by teachers in their classrooms. Our plan has been divided up into 5 sections, being the what, where, how, who, and why. In terms of the what, we propose that the next research step would be to investigate the specific strategies that can support teachers in classroom management, as there was a desire for further support and training in classroom management discussed in the interviews with in-service and pre-service teachers. For the where, this investigation would continue to take place in a secondary school setting, specifically in the Western Sydney region. Who, due to the restrictions that were implemented whilst completing the previous action research projects, we were unable to interact as freely nor in person with teachers or students. So in the future, we'd like to see teachers who are currently working in schools engaging and participating in the research project. How? Written personal reflections collected from teachers is the protocol that would be utilised to produce the data. These reflections would allow teachers to discuss their strategies used in the classroom, exploring the context of their school and how their education and own confidence in classroom management has influenced their choices and implementations of certain classroom management strategies. And finally, why? It is important to investigate what strategies can support teachers in the classroom to feel more prepared in their classroom management abilities. Reflecting back on how we started the presentation with stating that classroom management is a daily responsibility completed by teachers, and that there is also a desire in the profession to develop one's own preparedness and confidence in this area of teaching.